Something's just hot off the DHL courier truck, and it is my birthday gift. So my birthday just happened. I don't know when this will be made public, but it was beginning of January. And this is what I chose for myself that my husband bought for me. It has my address all over it. So let me just get some scissors. So I saw these paints mentioned. I can't remember who mentioned them or if I even saw them on YouTube. But they're a special type of gouache that supposedly doesn't crack. And the only place that I could find, they are available on Amazon, but they're a bit more expensive. And I think they're out of stock or something too. Anyways, Art Miranda in Spain had them, and you can also buy the individual tubes through them as well. And over a certain price, they have free shipping, and I've always been really satisfied with their shipping in the past, so it's not a big deal to order it from Spain. Ooh. So I was originally looking at a set of these paints, a set of 36, and I really didn't need that many. I have gouache. What I wanted to do was to be able to take them on a trip, and they're not, hold on. I'm going to Mexico City at the end of the month, and I wanted something very light to transport gouache as well as watercolor. And I already had one of these Art Toolkits. I had the really, really small one. That's really a supplementary kind of set that I put in here to go along with my other little handmade palette, which is this right here. And I have videos for these things as well, so you can check those out. But I wanted something, I find with gouache you have to have like bigger pans. I could have done the quarter pans. I have a pile of them. When I ordered half pans, they gave me quarter pans. But I wanted a bit bigger space to really get my brush in there. And that's what this Art Toolkit should provide. So there we go. So it's a little bit bigger. They're pretty shallow. The whole tin itself is very shallow. And they're held in by magnets. So there's magnet on the bottom. And these are almost like, I think you can buy these as makeup tins. But this is all by Art Toolkit. So I got that, and I got this only to make up, you have to order a certain amount in order to get free shipping. And I like these acrylic markers. I've never used the Amsterdam brand before. I've never seen them in the shops here. So I have Edding and Molotov and Posca, obviously. And I just like those for laying down a color pretty quickly. So added that. I was looking for kind of neutral pale gray, and that's supposedly what this is. So that was just a kind of bonus. So really the star of the show, I like this box. Caution, this box contains potential art. Yay! Somewhat fitting that it's banished when I'm going to Mexico. So these are the Mijello Titanium brand. Yeah, Titanium. Because there's Mijello Gold, which are watercolors. These are the gouache, and they supposedly don't crack. So I got just enough for, there's 15 spots. So I got 15 colors, and hopefully it's a good range of colors. I don't have to worry about that. So they've just put them all in Holbein boxes, the rest of them. I'm so excited about this. I want to be using more gouache, but I've been finding that, you know, I either don't take them with me. I love the Holbein pen palettes that I have. So I love this set, but it's just a little bulky and a little heavy to be taking on a trip. Not just, you know, carrying throughout the day, because it's going to be demos and everything throughout the day. It's a combination with the International Watercolour Society, the Canadian branch, with the Mexican branch in Mexico City. Sort of liaised with the watercolor museum that's there. So there's that, but then there's just the plane. You know, everyone knows these days that you can't take much. If you're going to do carry-on only, you can't really take very much. So that is going to be super light. And the other thing that I have, this is light. These are, I'm not sure what they are actually. I got them in Japanese dollar store in California, and I've done a video on that too. These have Nicker paints, which are the Studio Ghibli paints that are used by their artists to do the animation films. But as you can see, they really crack. And I just, you know, in a pinch they're good, but as you can see, this doesn't stay open, so you kind of have to get your brush in there and sort of tease it. I want it to be a lot freer with that. So the tubes on them are pretty much what you come to expect on tubes. They have the series here, the number, the name en français, and I think that's ombre nature. I don't know if that's German or not. Anyways, the pigment information on the back, the light fastness, and these are all made in Korea. So let me start putting them in the pans, getting them all lined up, and then we can swatch them. Oh, and by the way, this is the Folio palette, and I will be drying them overnight. Yep, that's it. That's Art Toolkit. Comes in its own little bag. It's cute. Don't think I'd ever put it in the bag. Definitely didn't for my little one. So let's get those into their pans. So I've lined these up. I always start from yellow to reds to blues to greens, and then the natural colors at the end, and white and black at the very end. Sometimes I put white up at the top, but it really doesn't matter. Or does it? Because I'll be using white a lot, so maybe I want it kind of more clean, so I might do that. This is the fun part, I always find, is arranging the colors. So starting with titanium white, let me just see if I can move the camera down so that I can see that it's still taping, for instance. So I'm going to put generous amount in here. And you can always move them around. It's not like it's permanent. And I have these stir sticks from Starbucks that you probably see me using before, if you just want to get it more spread out like so. You can use a palette knife as well. I wasn't even going to get the whites because I thought, you know, I have loads of whites, but again, I'm trying to get ones that don't crack and fall apart, and when you open it, it's all over the place. So it's PW6 and extremely light fast. And by the way, I know in Canada they don't have these anymore, so I have a little supply of them. Oh, sorry for that. And then lemon yellow, it's G203, and it is good light fast, and it's PY3. So far so good. They haven't been leaping out of their tubes like some. I always find the Daniel Smith ones are just so packed into their tubes that they come spurting out. So that's a cooler yellow. I didn't get a warm yellow because I have the yellow ochre, and I thought that was enough. But I did get a cool and warm red. I'm going to start with the warm first. This is Permanent Red Deep, and it's G208. Extremely light fast, and it's PR254. It would be now that my heart decides to do some funny things. So I'm trying to be really careful. But my heart rhythm is all over the place because I was just at the dentist. And then the cool red is the Quinacridone Permanent Magenta. It's G211. And it's PR122 and extremely light fast. And I'll have plenty of time to experiment with these before my trip. It's not for a couple weeks yet. Don't be worried. I have a known heart problem, so it's not a big deal. The worst thing would happen would be that I would clunk out and then my defibrillator would kick me into action. So next is, I thought I would get two different blues. Get a cerulean blue. I always like to have a cerulean because as the name implies, it's a nice sky blue. I hope that that is the case. It's G218. And it's PB15:3, and it's extremely light fast. And then a good old ultramarine deep. This is G219. Oops, sorry. And it is PB29 and PV15, extremely light fast. That's very like the one that I make my own watercolors. I've been pouring a whole set of ultramarine, so I know it very well right now. There we go. And then I thought, I don't think they had Payne's Gray. I can't remember, because normally I would get a Payne's Gray, but I got the indigo, I think, thinking that I would, you know, mix my own Payne's Gray. So this is PB27, PBK7, and PB29, and it's extremely light fast. There's a lot of indigos that aren't light fast, so you always have to check. I think this will be a good substitute for the Payne's Gray. And it's nice for, you know, darkening colors down a bit. Sometimes mudding them up or making them more shadow friendly. And then I always get more greens than most palettes would give you. The first one is Cobalt Green Deep. It's G222 and it's PB36, extremely light fast. So it's actually blue. And right now it looks more like a cobalt turquoise. Not exactly what I was thinking it would be. It's so hard to tell online, especially the Art of Miranda's site doesn't really have, you know, true swatches, and they're very tiny what they do have, so it's a bit of a guess. So the next one is Bamboo Green G224. It is PG36 and it's extremely light fast. And if you follow me, you know that I'm always trying to get natural greens. It's really hard to find convenience greens that are. So I'm always on the lookout. I have a video on that too, and charts on my webpage for finding them. Now I'm just going to move this one around and get a clean one because it looks a bit high. I don't want the case top to come down on it. So just push it into all the corners. Yeah, I might have made that a little too high, but probably settle a bit. And then I always like to have an olive green. This one's G226 and it is PY150, PR102, and PG36, and is also extremely light fast. There's a little bit of binder came out of the tube. That's the first that I've seen do that. And I'm gonna swoosh that out a little bit. I might actually use a palette knife for that. I have one with a nice tip on it. try not to be too compulsive about it, but kind of want to start them off right, even if they don't stay perfect. All right. At least not one knot. And then the last row, oops, are the naturals and dark. So I have yellow ochre. Always good to have a yellow ochre. This is G227 and it is PY42, an extremely light fast. I use ochre a lot for mixing too, because I do a lot of urban sketching. It always comes in handy. And then raw umber G230. And these naturals are usually the cheaper option. They're usually a series A or first series. Because as you probably know, the professional paints are usually seriesed, so they go up in price, and that's usually because the pigments are a lot more expensive. There we go. Let me just use that into the whole palette too. Environmentally, I'm glad Starbucks doesn't have these anymore, but they're really good for paints. And then the next one is G231 Burnt Sienna. It is PR102, an extremely light fast. I don't think you can go wrong with having naturals too. They're a little bit cheaper and they're really handy, especially if you're doing landscapes or urban sketching. So I can't wait for this trip. I haven't really been anywhere. I was in California last March, and that was I think the only, I was in Las Vegas in November before that, but I hadn't been anywhere with the pandemic, and then our cat was so ill, so one of us had to stay home, and that one of us was me. And then lastly, for colors besides black, is Van Dyke Brown. I always like having a dark brown and a more neutral brown. This is G232, and it's PBR7, extremely light fast. And there's my heart going again. I definitely took my medication today. Hopefully it doesn't make my hands shaky. So far, so good. There we go. And then last is Ivory Black, and it's G234, and it's PBK7, extremely light fast. And I probably should have got an extra tube of the black and the white, but it's there. I just don't like paying for shipping. But it's a little sticky. I don't know if something was leaking. After coming all this way, I wouldn't be surprised. I had a recent delivery from the UK and it just looked like it had been used as a rugby ball or cricket ball or something. It was just a mess. But luckily everything was fine inside. So that is the palette set out. I'm going to let that dry. Just smoosh this in a little bit. But they all came out really nicely. And we'll check back in on that maybe a little bit later. So this is the Big Amsterdam acrylic marker. It's neutral gray, which is PBK 7 and PW 6. And you know how these work. You have to really shake them and press down. So that's going to take a little bit to get it going. So this one's a good chunky nib on it. I think it's bigger than, yeah, it's definitely bigger than the Edding ones, which are angled. But then that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be pretty thick so I can do a quick, not Posca one's angled too and not as big. And then the other one, chunky one that I have, that's probably about the same size. That's the Molotov. So it's starting to make its way down. I'm always aware that I could damage the tip of it. And there you go. That's really the color that I wanted. That's going to work really nicely. Since this is a watercolor workshop that I'm going to, probably not going to take anything besides watercolors, maybe colored pencils, and the gouache. I'm not going to load myself down with acrylic markers, and I'm always afraid that, you know, they're going to confiscate them at security. But that's really nice neutral gray. So we're back. We're just going to fix the lighting a bit. We're just going to swatch these out while they're still a bit, well, they're obviously still wet. And starting with the titanium white. I've just done, oh, and this paper is just like, I got it at Above Ground. It's their own brand, but it's just like studio paper, student grade. I really don't like the one side of it. It's cold pressed, but it has this really weird kind of texture to it. I prefer the back of it, and that'll work better with gouache. I might put a little too much water on that. And this is the lemon yellow. This is just A5 size because I have a little binder full of all the swatches for paints and other media that I have. This is Permanent Red Deep. And I can't recall, but most of them have high light fast. It's only Lemon Yellow that has 4, and where was the other one? Raw Umber that has 4 stars, but that's still good. And a lot of it will be in sketchbooks. And then Quinacridone Permanent Magenta. Oops. Cerulean Blue. And as I always do, I I scan these as high res and put them up on my website for you to download so you can get a closer look. Too much water. Really just use a flat brush. Now, well, not yet. The indigo. Ooh, that's almost like black. Do need some more water to see what that's really like. And it is very like a Payne's gray. This is the one that I think is going to be like a cobalt turquoise. Yep. It's nice. I love cobalt turquoise. I don't use it enough, but I do love this color. My front door of my old house used to be this color. Maybe somewhat darker. And then Bamboo Green. It's a really bright green, but they can be toned down with, they're complementary, or a little bit of maybe burnt sienna in them, maybe even a little bit of indigo. And next is Olive Green. They're really nicely pigmented, I have to say. Like, I barely have anything on the brush. And then Yellow Ochre. The only times I won't do like color charts if I have like a one-off like this acrylic marker. And then Raw Umber. Looks like a little bit of a kind of poopy brown. It's very ochre-y. And burnt sienna. Always good to have a burnt sienna in your palette. I may put too much too much water in the brush there. Go over that. That's better. And then the neutralish Van Dyke brown. It's a nice brown. I like having a brown like that for when you're doing trees. They're often more of a cooler neutral color than the warm. And then ivory black. I'm gonna try for more white on the top because I had way too much way too much water on that brush. There we go. So there you have it. That's the Mijello Titanium class Mission gouache paints that supposedly don't crack. We will be trying that out, especially with the change in temperatures that I'll be going from winter to much milder, and I can't wait for that. It's been a long time coming since I've gone anywhere on my own. It's been well over a year since I was in New York on my own for the first time since the pandemic. So it'd be nice, a little bit of me time, lots of time for sketching, and I'm with a group of people who will be doing sketching, so I don't have to worry about keeping anyone. And there'll be a chance for me to go out on my own and do things, and there's so many museums there. So there's Frida Kahlo Museum near where I'll be staying, and the Watercolor Museum itself, and just so many. So there's the gray, all dried now, and I really like that. I like the good chunky nib on it for laying down a color really quickly in your sketchbook. So maybe I will be buying more of them, but as I said, I can't really get them in Canada. I haven't really seen, we can get Amsterdam paints in the big tubes. I have that, but I haven't seen their acrylic markers yet. So we'll see. But I'm very happy with those. I'm gonna let them dry out and in their pans and on here, but like I said, I'll have a downloadable PDF for you to have a look at. And that's my birthday come to a close. I managed to extend it from Friday to Monday, so I think that's enough. My husband wanted to get me something, and I didn't want him getting something that I wasn't going to use, so this is perfect, and this will add to the anticipation of going on holiday and doing a lot of work, so I can't wait. Thanks so much. Bye.